Everybody, Zach Ditmars here for Fish Talk Magazine. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Live with Lenny. I'd like to thank Yamaha Outboard and Yamaha Whitewater for making this program possible, as well as Coastal Conservation Association Maryland. We've got a lot to dive into tonight. The topic will be success under the blazing summer sun. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Mr. Rudeness, the ultimate angler-in-chief, Mr. Lenny Rudo.
What's happening, Zach?
What's happening?
Not much.
You know how hot the sun is?
Specifically, I do not. Isn't it like
28,000
degrees or something?
5,000 degrees Kelvin.
5 Kelvin. What's a Kelvin?
I don't know.
That's like a metric thing. I don't do metrics.
Yeah, it means it's really hot.
Well, it has been really, really hot. In case everybody couldn't guess, that's why I picked this topic, because I, for one, am already like, I'm out there, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just like, oh my God, it's so hot. And it's making fishing tough.
It has. I've been sticking to the evenings, it cools down to the chilly 80 degrees.
Yeah, right.
And there's the water around here is still about 80 degrees. It hasn't really shot up yet.
So I saw 85 on Tuesday.
Okay.
I saw
referring to last week, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I saw 81 in the river, 85 when I went down south, down to the chop tank. So I don't know, man. It's a cooker out there.
It sure is. Well, we got lots to do, but before we get started, again, I want to thank Yamaha. And if you're looking for a repower, looking for service, hop on over to fishtalkmag.com/Yamaha. You'll find a whole slew of Mid-Atlantic Yamaha outboard dealers. So why don't we get started with the Great Chesapeake Invasive Count winners for the month of June?
Yeah, let's give away some stuff.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with this program, it's a free to participate. All you got to do is register at ccmd.org/account, and you'll create an iAngler account, which is a mobile app, and it's free to participate. And if you're out fishing and you happen to target blue cats, flatheads, or snakeheads, you just snap a photo on a ruler and submit it, and then you get entered to win some really cool prizes. It's free to participate, and all the data goes to fisheries management. So you can participate as a citizen scientist angler and let people know about the populations of these fish in our Chesapeake Bay watershed.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win all the way around, and you can win cool stuff.
Like?
What do we got? Jacob won the Angle Cooler Suite. Jacob, I'm going to botch it. Marinoff. Congratulations.
All right, up next.
Simon Hyde wins the Toadfish Cocktail Tumbler Kit. Ooh, nice.
I know he's watching right now because he said hello. Congratulations, Simon.
All right.
Simon, the red coat angler.
What's that little thing at the bottom? Is that one of the ice cube things?
Yeah, it makes a little round ice ball.
Nice.
Yep. Congrats,
Very
Simon.
cool. Congrats, Simon.
Hop on over to that URL or you'll get an email from the folks at CCA.
Oh, that's right. So to get your prizes, folks, just visit the URL. And what do you do there? You sign in. You let them know.
It's just a form you fill out with your address, but they'll also reach out to you via email.
Perfect.
All right. So 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. That's the. Thank you, Mr. Trout.
Thank you. Yes, Fahrenheit's much better.
Okay, we got a few more of these to give away here.
Jay wins the Marucci's. Nice. You get the gift cards. You get to pick out whichever kind you want. That's an awesome one. Congrats, Jay.
I want to say, and went online. I had a seamless process. Got a really nice pair of shades.
And George wins the toolkit. Now, this is one of my favorites because you get all the TCA tools. You get the lip grip, you get the fillet knife, you get the pliers, and it's good stuff. Congrats, George.
That knife is awesome. The handle is kind of cheapy, but it's a great blade. It's super sharp.
Cuts. Yeah.
Played a few fish with it already.
I used it to replace one of my 30-year-old knives that I kept on the skiff. And the first time I used it, I was like, oh my God, I cut through the cutting board and into the cooler.
Nice. Okay, last but not least.
Ted! Hey, Ted! Congratulations. You want a Toadfish Drive-By. Nice.
Oh, and I believe these toadfish products are actually branded CCA, so they're not what you see is the sort of stock, but they are branded CCA. So that's pretty cool. So make sure you go on and sign up for the Great Chesapeake and Basic account. This runs all year long, and snakeheads all summer, catfish all winter. You can really get out there, make it happen.
That's awesome, and I'm so psyched to see Ted win because he's a longtime CCA supporter. He's been a Fish for a Cure supporter, and that guy can fish. We've had a lot of fun fishing, so that's awesome.
Very cool.
Now wait, don't we have something even bigger to announce today?
We do. Okay, so also CCA. Sorry, wrong slide. I'll get to that in a minute. So for last month, we announced this on last month's live result to do a blue catfish trip with Captain Tim from Fish to Potomac and Capital Blues Fishing Charters. But on board, we'll have award-winning author Hank Shaw and president of the Ukajime Federation, Andrew Sawyer. So pretty cool opportunity here. Tickets closed last night, and we are about to draw the winners for 8 lucky anglers that get hop aboard on Friday, July 18th. Bear with me, I didn't have the screen ready.
All right, I'm watching close. I'm gonna win. You're
not in there. You didn't buy a ticket. You're not on my list, man. All right.
Oh, the spinny wheel. I love the spinny wheel.
All right, so everyone who bought multiple tickets, thank you for doing so. We got multiple tickets going on over here on the right, and everyone's names in there. Now, just in case, I have a ticket in there. I did buy a ticket, so if I win, this is totally random.
Yeah, sure. We'll see.
All right, here we go. 8 winners. We're going to start now.
Stacy, congrats.
Very good.
All right. Stacy's going fishing.
I love it.
Dorothy's going fishing too.
All right. Number
3. Dave, that's fine.
I believe he bought tickets last night.
Oh, no way.
Number 4. Oh, so close. Congrats, Carlos. Carlos bought 15 tickets. I think he earned that.
Can I just interrupt the prize giving for 1 second here, Zach?
Okay, that was number 4, right?
I love how you worked the CCA logo into the middle of the spinny wheel.
Isn't that amazing?
That wasn't you?
I love technology.
Oh, you did.
That was 4, right?
That's awesome.
Oh, that was 4. I see. Okay, number 5. Oh man, it keeps going right past me.
That's right.
All right. 3 more. My fingers are crossed under my desk. Oh my God!
Oh, that didn't work.
It's not rigged, I swear. That's awesome.
That's
all right.
funny.
Oh, man.
Rob Allen.
Forward to meeting you on the boat. Okay, final winner here. Drum roll. Charles won again. Those 15 tickets paid off. Charles, you have 2 seats on the boat. You get the grand prize. How cool is that?
Oh, no way. Nice.
Yeah, totally. All right, that's it. And congratulations on the winners. And
so I'll bet you guys catch some big old catfish on that.
I never catch big catfish.
Oh yeah, right. You're the ginormous catfish guy every time we go catfishing.
I do have some dumb luck. I think I'm going to change my name to like Blind Squirrel.
To what?
Blind Squirrel.
Oh.
All right, guys. So one more thing on that. The following day, you still have an opportunity to buy some tickets for this. Hank Shaw will be doing a dinner, book signing your tickets. You get 2 autographed cookbooks. Some meet and greet. If you look closely, there's this beautiful waterfront property right off the Hudson River. Live music. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're interested, 5 to 8, Saturday, July 19th. kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. He doesn't make it around Chesapeake very often. And I was fishing with my friend Patrick last week, and he was like, "Oh, I haven't spoke books." So I'm new to the Harry Shaw game, but he's very renowned. Again, award-winning uh, author, hunter, angler, gardener. I think good stuff. So hop on over to ccmb.org and you'll see that URL down there. A lot of things shown.
Nice. Now,
Okay.
before we get into the current bite and then on to the summer fishing, I do want to mention one other thing during announcement time here. And that is that I want to let everybody know our Fish for a Cure drive has begun. We've got the team up. Just go to Fish for a Cure, click on Team Fish Talk Prop Talk to chip in and support us. I hope everybody will do so. It is a fantastic cause. Doesn't get any better than this. You're helping the Cancer Survivorship Program at AAMC, and the money that gets donated is going directly to help cancer patients. So there's nobody out there who cancer hasn't touched in some way, shape, or form. And we've upped our effort this year, right, Zach? We raised our goal. Last year we topped 13K. We were very excited about that. We managed to land in the top 10, just barely, which has kind of been what's happened the last few years. So we bumped it up to 14K this year. So people, if you're feeling generous, please go on over to Fish for a Cure, drop something in the Team Fish Talk Prop Talk bucket, and in the coming months, we're going to have a new, improved, revamped online auction. And we're putting together stuff for it right now. There will be fishing trips with me. There will be crabbing trips. There will be all kinds of cool stuff. So please, people, check it out, tune in, and think about donating to the cause, because it really is as good as it gets.
And actually, that URL on the screen right now will take you right to our donation page. But if you'd like to go to fishforcure.org and click on standings, you can find our page there. So you gotta click a few more times to take you right to check out. And if you spend $125, it is tax deductible, and you get a cool T-shirt. And it's a really nice T-shirt. So
yeah, like you mentioned, it is all tax deductible. It's a 501c3. What I love about it is just where the money goes, but it is all tax deductible. All right, let's get on to the current bite, because there's actually quite a bit of stuff going on despite this summer heat. And we'll talk about how to beat the heat in a minute. But first, why don't you bring up our first slide?
Well, don't forget, for all the viewers out there, feel free to ask questions anytime. If it's on topic, we'll try to address it. And if it's sort of off topic, we'll kind of circle back around.
I did forget. Thank you, Zach. Yes, that is why we do this. We're live, so you can chime in. Let us know what you want to know. And Zach will get the questions right up there. So let's start off with the offshore. Whoa, wait a minute. I see the hand going up. We already got one?
No, but I'm going to slip away, so I'll be hiding.
Okay. Give me slide one. We'll start with the offshore bite, because this year, there was no early bite, right? Sometimes the fishing starts early, sometimes it doesn't. This year it did not. But when it came on good. And there's quite a tuna bite right now going on. We're hearing from a lot of guys who are catching somewhere between anywhere from 2 to 8 yellowfin on an average trip. Some guys are doing better. Of course, some guys are doing worse. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. But the yellowfin are around. It does seem to be a structure-oriented bite. The water's all been kind of blah out there. There haven't been any incredible breaks or swirls of warm water or anything in any particular zone. It's more like, working along the canyon edges. Started off down south into Washington. It's worked its way up. We've heard Poor Man's now. We've heard Baltimore. Kind of all over the place. So if you got a chance to get out there and get after the yellowfin, now is a really good time to do it. There's no telling if this bite's going to last into and through the summer, or if it'll just peter out and disappear. So get out there while you can. Meanwhile, go ahead and take us to the next slide, please, Zach. Meanwhile, the rockfish bite has picked up. Look, there's Luna with a little rockfish. Isn't that just the most awesome picture in the world? The rockfish bite has definitely picked up in the last couple of weeks, which is kind of weird. We started off good. Then the bite kind of tanked in a lot of areas. And it's I think that crazy temperature variation probably had something to do with it. We had 70 degrees one day and 90 degrees the next, and then 70 the next. Who knows what's going on. But it has turned around a good bit, and the rockfish bite has really picked up. Up north, we're here in Love Point. We're here in the Patapsco, in the Middle Bay. Still no fish in the South River that I can find. It just has not been a good year for the South. But we have been hearing about some fish across an Eastern Bay, certainly in Kent Narrows. And I had a good bite in the chop tank the other day. The chop tank is definitely on. So there's a lot more going on right now than there was a couple weeks ago. So get out there and get them. All right, next slide, Zach. This one's a little bit of a surprise. Very happy to see this croaker. A lot of croaker have showed up. We've gotten some reports of fish up to 12 inches, which is, not giant for a croaker, but it's a good solid keeper. And some boats are picking up good numbers of keeper. I went out and looked for them for maybe 2 hours the other day. Found a good bunch of like 7 to 8 3/4 inches. I did not see any keepers. Now, I didn't do it for a long time. Didn't work it real hard, but they're around. They were at the mouth of the West. So, and really good numbers. I mean, one after the next. So really nice to see. Maybe we're finally getting that croaker comeback that we've all been waiting for, I don't know, what, 15 years now? But they are around. So if you like croaker, if you've been missing them for years and years and you always wish they'd come back, you know what? It's not a bad move to go out and look for them right now because those fish are around. All right, Zach, take me to the next slide, please. Down south, we've got a great bite going on for flounder. Now, truth be told, right now, there's a great bite going on down south for a lot of stuff. Flounder, the cobia are on, the redfish are on, the sheepshead are in. It's kind of how it often is down towards the mouth of the bay. It gets pretty darn hot. But the flounder bite in particular has, been hearing a lot about it. So I'm really psyched here. This was I think it was a 21.5 incher right there at Kiptapeak. So very, very nice bite on these fish. And with a little luck, maybe they'll work their way north. More of us will get a shot at them. I kind of expect so, because last year by midsummer, we were seeing flounder, all the way up into the Middle Bay zone. Not a ton, but I think I took home 3 keepers last summer, and many, many, many throwbacks were showing up. So hopefully that'll continue to develop. But, if you like going for the flounder, this is a great one to go after. And we're going to talk more about them in a little bit. But for now, let's get started on what to do in this ridiculously hot weather and still catch fish. So Zach, go ahead and take me on to the first slide, please. We are starting with the obvious, people. As you can tell, this is right at daybreak or sunset. Well, when it gets hot like this, and I think, Zach, didn't you mention earlier, you've been fishing evenings, right?
Yes.
Yeah. When it gets hot like this, daybreak and sunset are going to be the best fishing times of the day. Doesn't mean you can't catch fish in the middle of the day. But if you really want to catch fish and you don't mind getting up ridiculously early or going to bed ridiculously late, simply fish the sunrise or the sunset. Every fish in the bay is going to be much more active at these times of day. All right, go ahead and take us to the next one, please. During the day, when the sun is up and the sun is shining, you're looking for shade, right, to stay out of that hot sun. Guess what? The fish are too. This is a great time to hit the docks. Now, when you hit the docks, just casting up to a dock is not good enough. If your jig lands 3 inches outside of the shade and then you retrieve it through sunshine, you're not going to catch fish. You've literally got to get your jig into the shaded water. So, a couple things about this. The first is, if you're going to work a line of docks, look at where the sun is and figure out which direction to work them in, because you want to work from the side where the sun is casting the shadow, right? So if you're sitting there looking at the end of a dock, there's either going to be more shade to the right of the dock or more shade to the left of the dock, depending on which side the sun's on. Look at that before you start working a shoreline, and go to the shady side so that when you're casting, if you land your jig right at the end of the dock, you're at least getting some shade. Now, getting it under the dock is even better. And someone mentioned to me the other day that they downsized their jig heads. They were going to 1/8 ounce jigs because it was much easier to skip underneath of the pier doing that. Was that you, Zach? I think you might have been the one that mentioned that.
I did.
You did, yes. So, and when
Channeling
you,
my inner Iconelli.
what's that?
I'm channeling my inner Iconelli.
Ah, well, when you caught your fish, I'm just guessing here. You stop me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it when you got good skips, it went all the way under the pier and you were deep in the shade?
Yeah, I feel like multiple taps until they finally take it. I'll tell you, the fish is fired up, dude. They're fired up.
Well, it is a kind of a common thing when the sun is blazing. The fish are just as hot as we are. They are looking for that shade. So figure out how to get your jig into that shade. I'm just going to mention, just so everybody is on the same page, sake of argument here, we got to remember when we're doing this, we are perfectly legal fishing wherever the heck we want within an inch of a pier. But if you snag that pier, you cannot touch it. You cannot go and like get on someone's pier and get your jig back. That's not legit. So, you know, if you don't want to get yelled at, just stay off the piers. As long as you're fishing around them and not touching them, no one can say a word to you. And if someone does, just say, hey, okay, go call the DNR. Because the DNR knows the deal.
I got yelled at.
You got yelled at? Yeah. Oh, geez. Did you touch a pier, Zach?
Yeah, I had to get my jig. Those GIs are expensive.
You are not allowed to touch the pier. You cannot do that.
I didn't touch it. I was next to it. I just had to grab the jig. Was touching it.
All right. Well, you know my rule. I don't even get close to it. If I can't jerk the jig back, it's a goner because I don't need to hassle with anybody. But be that as it may, remember, folks, get that jig into the shade. That's the ticket. All right. Give us our next slide, please, Zach. I love this one. So obviously this is a cutlass fish. This was not last summer, but the summer before last, right at the mouth of the South and the West Rivers. We got invaded by these guys, had a ball with them through the entire month of August. It was awesome. I hope they come back. They're super cool. Their teeth are just absolutely crazy. And these things taste great. Will they come back this year? I don't know. But my point in picking out this slide was simply to remind us all that there's fish other than rockfish out there, right? And depending on the season, you get different stuff. Now, last year, we didn't get these guys. We had lots of redfish in the Middle Bay. Wherever you may do your fishing, every season is different. And the whole point of putting up this slide was not to say go for cutlass fish. It was to say, you know what? Check the fishing reports, keep in touch with what's out there, and be willing to alter your plans. A lot of times, a lot of guys in the Middle Bay and the Upper Bay, they get so focused on the rockfish. Everybody thinks rockfish, rockfish, rockfish. And you forget you got other options. And I guarantee you, no matter where you are, every season, there will be some other options popping up. Don't be afraid to kind of shift gears, not worry about the rockfish, and go for something crazy like these cutlass fish. It can be a lot of fun. All right, go on and take us to the next slide, please. This is a really good tip. If you want to catch fish in the middle of the summer, go night fishing. Now, this particular photo, was sent in by Dave Moore from Shark Whisperers. He fishes down on Assateague. This is on Assateague. He catches a lot of big drum in the middle of the summer when nobody else is catching them. And one of the reasons why is he goes out there in the middle of the night. Now, old timers will remember before the rockfish population explosion that we all knew and loved over 20 years here. Before then, when there were a lot fewer rockfish around, you didn't catch rockfish in July and August. I remember for years, July and August, you didn't even think about going fishing for rockfish. Nobody caught them, except maybe one here and there at daybreak and sunset. But mostly during the summer, the rockfish were just shut down. Well, I was younger and had a lot more energy back then. And you know what I did? I went night fishing, like all the time. And I caught a ton of rockfish doing it. I used to go right up to the South River Bridge. I'd put over a hydroglow, green hydroglow, right by the light line. And within about 20 minutes, it would be swarming with bunker. and I would throw the cast net, one throw, all it took, get a bajillion bunker, just take a hook, put one through one's back, flip it right back out. Man, it did not take long to catch a rockfish. And whatever you might want to go for, be it rockfish, be it redfish, be it croaker, whatever it is, this time of year when this big heat sets in, if you go night fishing, you will discover that the bite can just go off the hook. A lot of the fish feed much better at night during the summertime. Now, a couple things you want to remember. The first is obviously be safe, right? One of the things I always do is when we take out the boat at night, everybody gets a glow stick, and I put a rubber band through the little eye on the glow stick and put it on a belt loop so that, God forbid, if anybody went overboard, it would be easy to spot them. Another thing you want to bear in mind, of course, bring your headlamp, bring your lanterns, got to get all that gear together and make sure your boat lights are properly in order. You got to be properly lighted at night, where you do risk A, big old ticket, and B, getting hit by another boat. Now, truth be told, I do not do this like I used to. Someone asked me the other day when the last time I went night fishing was, and I was like, it's been a few years. It has been a few years. But if you got the energy for it, you don't mind being up late, this right here is a fantastic way to catch fish during the summer. Again, I'd recommend you find the nearest bridge with a light line and then park your boat right there on the light line and drop that green light overboard. If you don't have a green hydroglow, it will benefit you immensely for any kind of night fishing. They suck in fish like a magnet. They're really tremendous. They will boost your catch in a huge way. One other thing I wanted to mention about night fishing. Also remember, a lot of times when you go night fishing in the summer, it takes those fish a little while to transition from daylight into nighttime. And often that first hour, there's really nothing going on. So don't be bummed out or worried if you're not getting bites right off the bat. You got to give it an hour. When you get an hour into it, if you're not getting bites, then it might be time to think about busting a move. But give it that hour, because that, first half hour, 45 minutes, nothing ever happens. It's really after like an hour that the fish really start, they go into night mode, So give it a little bit of time.
Yeah, I have a question.
What's that?
Do you know how Dave is targeting these threads in the surf? What's he throwing out in the surf to catch these big fish?
I apologize, Zach. Your audio is kind of wigging in and out like on that weird internet sound. And we had internet issues earlier, and I think that's hitting you. Can you say that again?
Well, I was just wondering if you knew how Dave is targeting these fish in the surf. What kind of baits he throwing?
Bait? What kind of bait in the surf? So Dave wrote an article about catching reds in the surf, and he talked a lot about bait choice, which he had some really good advice. The first was match the hatch. Throw out your bottom rig with bloodworms and catch a few fish. If you're catching spot, use them for bait, right? If you're catching kingfish, use them for bait. His take on it was that the reds really like to eat like whatever's out there, whatever they're finding naturally, that's what they're going to chew on. Now, that said, he went with spot and kingfish as top baits, and then he also brought bunker just in case he didn't get them, and that was also a good bait. And as I recall, I think he really liked to use the kingfish heads for the big reds. I might be wrong about that. You can check on me. You can go to fishtalkmag.com, punch redfish into the search box at the top, and you'll find that article, or punch surf fishing in, you'll find that article, and he does spell that out. So matching the hatch, man, matching the hatch. Greg is saying we used to use the 8-inch neon surgical hose under the light. Interesting. I never used a surgical hose under the light. That is interesting. Huh. And Jay saying perception is tough at night. Yeah, Jay, it sure is. And the older you get, the tougher it gets. Right? Like, man, I remember when I was 30, it didn't bother me a bit to go out there and I could see everything and I could do everything. Now I'm like, give me my glasses, give me the headlamp, make everything perfect, or I can't tie a knot. All right, let's go ahead on to the next slide, Zach. This was kind of funny. Many of you will recognize this fish. Some of you won't. This is a golden tilefish. This fish was reeled up from 850 feet down, middle of the summer. When you reel these fish up and you put them on the deck, if you reach down and touch them, they feel like ice because they're so cold from being down there. I mean, it's not ice cold, but it's like, 45 degrees or something on the bottom. And they'll bite right through the summer, but that's not why I use this slide. This is kind of like the cutlass fish slide. It was more to illustrate a point. Go deep. Go deep in the summertime. Not all the time, but often the fish just move. They're looking for the coolest place possible, and they're going to go as deep as they can. Now, in the Chesapeake Bay, in many areas, we do have to worry about the dead zone. And we drop down deep. You can't get too deep because you can get into the dead zone. Greg's saying he hears are amazing to eat like cold water lobster. Yeah, Greg. If you go offshore, you'll see the lobster pots strung out right along the canyon edges, right where you catch these fish. They eat lobster, and they do taste like lobster. They eat those Jonah crabs too. If you got to be careful not to mess with them too much. You don't want to like spice the heck out of the meat or anything, or you can kind of mask the flavor. But if you take their meat and steam it with no spice and then make like crab cakes out of it, oh my God, tastes like lobster cakes. They're amazing. They are truly amazing. They're really flipping good. And they have this lobster flavor throughout them. So anyway, you can go to the eyesonthebay.net website. That will show you where the dead zone is and what depths they're at. And you don't want to get below that depth, right? Usually it's going to be like 25, 30 feet, depending on where you are. But often the fish will be going down just as deep as they can until they hit that dead zone to get those cooler temperatures. So obviously in the Chesapeake, you're not going to catch golden tiles, but the point holds. Just get deep. Kevin's saying that looks like John Unkert, the ocean correspondent for Fish Talk. It certainly is. It is my good friend John. This was some years ago. We went out and specifically targeted tiles, and man, I don't remember how many caught. We cranked those suckers up. We had a great day. John was always really good on tile fish. He and I fished for them together quite a bit, and there was maybe a 2 or 3 year period where there was a complete lack of tuna fish out of Ocean City in the summer months, and we sort of made the tile fish our mission. And yeah, that's some fun stuff, and that is some good eating fish. All right, Zach, why don't you take us on to the next one here? And we've got a flounder. Why did I put a flounder up here? I told you we were going to talk a little more about flounder later. Here's the deal. I don't care where you are, if you're in the middle bay, the lower bay, the way south zone at the mouth of the bay, on the coast. Obviously, this doesn't hold true for the upper bay. Well, not most of the time anyway. But if you're in a zone where there are flounder and you've done your sunrise morning bite, right? The sun's high in the sky. Let's say it's, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock. Now it's really starting to blaze. And the bite's totally shut down. It is a great maneuver to just completely shift gears and target flounder 100%. Flounder really don't mind the heat. They 100% don't mind the bright sunshine. They are sight feeders, and they tend to feed best when the sun is really high in the sky and you're in really bright conditions. So it's an excellent game plan to target whatever you want early on and then sort of shift right over to the flounder. They'll bite midday, regardless of how bright and sunny it gets. What I like to do is I take, depending on the depth, maybe like a 1 ounce jig head and a 4-inch gulp jerk shad. Chartreuse and white are my favorites, and just bounce them right along an edge or a drop off anywhere from like 10 to 24 feet, 25 feet, something like that. And generally the flounder will be hanging somewhere along that edge. They really like the edges. You want to stick with edges. In the ocean, you're going to need to go a little heavier, obviously, to keep it down and stay it down. Fish the wreck and the reef sites. go to a top and bottom fluke killer with a gulp swimming mullet. They love those. They eat them up in the coastal bays too. And just, pull that along the bottom. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're in a zone where there are flounder, this is about as good a midday fish as you're going to find. It really is. Flounder they love that bright sunshine. So it's a great fish for it. All right, Zach, take us to the next slide, please. Here's a speck. Now, okay, you got to make this picture big. Okay, so anybody who fishes a middle bay is going to look in the background and go, oh, there's the power plant. I see the water intake, the safety zone behind these anglers. Well, that's correct. But this is in the middle of the summer, and this fish was not caught in the outflow. It was caught along the rocky drop-off from like 8 to 12 feet that's inside of the drop-off, which in the middle of the summer is often a pretty good speck spot. Not always, but it has its moments. And the point of this photo, once again, was not to say go there, do this. The point of this was to say, find the deep structure and you're going to find some specks. And deep is a relative term, right? Most of the time, or much of the time when we're speck fishing, we're throwing in the shallows, we're throwing into a foot of water, 2 feet of water, 3 feet of water. That's great until it gets stupid hot, and then the specks do shift to deep water. But when I say deep, I'm not talking 20 feet with these fish. I'm talking 6 feet, 8 feet, maybe 10 feet. And any structure in those depths will produce. If you ever fish Bloodsworth, you may know that on the north side of the island at one of the points, there's a 10-foot deep hole. In the middle of the summer, a lot of the times, it loads up with specks. There are some wrecks out there in the Tangier in 8, 10, 12 feet of water. In the middle of the summer, when the specks disappear from the shallows, that's where they go. So again, the point of this photo is just to say, slide a little deeper, and you can find the shallow water fish, right? You can find the specks. You'll find reds on these items of structure that are in just slightly deeper water. Again, deep is relative. We're not talking 25, 30 feet of water. We're just talking deeper than these fish were in the springtime, then they'll be in the fall, and actually then they may well be at daybreak. If you fish the shallows at daybreak, you will often encounter some specks. They're perfectly happy to move up into the shallows again when it's not so hot out. But come 8, 9 o'clock, when that sun gets high in the sky, they're going to slide to these deeper areas, and they're going to be looking for structure. So that's another one to look out for. All right, next slide, please, Zach. So I put this one in here because, as hopefully you're going to see this and you're going to know what we're looking at here is a thermocline on a fish finder screen. And you can see some fish just above the thermocline. Now, usually when we think about thermoclines, we're not usually looking for them at this time of year. And I wouldn't tell you to go out and look for a thermocline at 20 feet of water and fish on it. I wouldn't say that. What I would say is, as you're going around looking at different spots and doing different things, always keep an eye on that meter and just remind yourself, if you see a thermocline, to look for fish around it. Sometimes the fish will stage right around it. Often that's going to be where thermocline intersects with structure just above the dead zone. So, and that's, I'm talking in the middle and upper bay. Excuse me. Once you get down to the lower bay and the way south zone, it's not so much of an issue. But in the upper middle bay, if you see a thermocline, let's say, I'm just going to pull it out of the air. Let's say it's at 20 feet. You see a thermocline at 20 feet. You've got an edge coming up above 20 feet, and the thermocline is hitting it, and the dead zone is running it, I don't know, say 25 feet. That zone is often going to be really, really good. You want that intersection with the structure, but whenever you're going around, I would say constantly just sort of keep an eye on the meter, look for those thermoclines, and when you see some marks right around them, that's your sign. You should be, you should hesitate in that spot for a moment and focus on those fish. See if they're biting. You've located an area where you're likely to get some action. All right, we got another slide that we're going to pop up right now. Go ahead, Zach. Hit the river, right? Hit the river. Rivers are always running cooler. And this, I know this is a big shift off the bay, off the coast. But you know what? Living in Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania in this area, we have some fantastic rivers that are a short drive away. And wherever you live in the Fish Talk zone, if you see Fish Talk, you live within, I don't know, at the very most an hour or two's drive from one of these rivers. And one of the cool things about fishing them in the summertime is you can just wade right in. This is a picture of Adam. Adam is a Fish Talk contributor. He works over at Anglers. You may well see him there. He doesn't have a boat, so he ends up doing a lot of shoreline fishing. And one of the things he does quite a bit is he goes to these rivers and just wades out and starts casting. And you know what? It's a great way to get some midsummer action. Smallmouth, crappie, bluegills, largemouth in a lot of areas. Some areas, walleye. There's an awful lot going on. In Virginia, there are a couple really good rivers. Oh, now I'm blanking for some muskie. Now, you want to be careful with those fish in the summertime, right? They don't survive very well in the summer. And of course, with all fish, you want to be real gentle on them when it's really hot out. But boy, talk about tons and tons and tons of options. And people, this is one that a lot of us who maybe fish the bay regularly or fish the coastal bays or the ocean regularly, we kind of forget, right? We forget that, you know what? It's a blazing hot day and I couldn't get out early and I'm not going to be able to get out late. I got the middle of the day to fish. What am I going to do? This is a fantastic option. It can be a ton of fun. But most importantly, take us to the most important slide, Zach. I started talking about this there because I knew it was coming. Most importantly, we got to remember that, hey, when we're sweating to death and gasping for air, so are the fish. And of course, we're not sweating to death, but they are gasping for oxygen. And the DNR puts out the straight bass advisory. And oh boy, hold on. Excuse me, sorry about that. Check the advisory. You'll see it at the DNR website. You'll get it in the DNR's fishing report. I'm glad that they did this. The DNR does a lot of great stuff. Some of the stuff they do drives me nuts. This is one of the things I'm really glad they do. When you see the red advisory, it means temperatures are going to be above 95 degrees and the release mortality rate for rockfish in particular plummets. Now, it goes down for a lot of species. I mentioned the muskie. That's another one that really doesn't do well in the hot weather. But rockfish in particular, we know that the mortality just goes through the roof when it gets super duper hot. So this is a great argument to do some of the stuff we've been talking about. Change your prerogatives and focus on flounder or on specks, or heck, go sight fishing for cobia, whatever. Just do something a little different that isn't going to put you in close proximity with the rockfish. And like the DNR says here, I love that they do this. Encourage not to fish for striped bass after 10 a.m. So still go get your morning bite. Go in the evening, get your evening bite. But when it's going to be super duper hot, try not to target them. Not only when the advisory is red or yellow, but truly at all times. Whenever you can, try and release the fish without taking them out of the water. But it's double important. It's actually going from that hot water to the even hotter air temperatures that really messes with the rockfish. So if you can, lean over the side of the boat, unhook them while they're still in the water and let them go that way. They got a much, much better chance for survival. We talk a lot about trying to minimize release mortality. I would encourage everybody to go to fishtalkmag.com, plug catch and release into the search box. We've got a lot of articles on it and a lot of good info on how to minimize release mortality, not just with the rockfish, but with all fish. Please make sure you got a fish safe net, right? You want a net with the right mesh. Don't handle the fish with dry hands, with a dry rag. Anything dry removes their slime, not good. Don't squeeze the fish around the middle. Big fish, support them in the back, hold them horizontal, not vertical. There are a lot of these tips and tricks that if everybody uses, we will radically reduce the release mortality. Swap out those trebles for singles. That's another one. There's a lot of this. But in any case, before you go fishing during July and August, check the striped bass advisories. Make sure you kind of, modify your behavior to fit. And of course, when they're closed, they're closed. So, fish for something else entirely. Try and stay as far away from the rockfish as you possibly can. All right, well, we just made it through 10 tips for hot summertime fishing. Zach, I'm wondering if we have any questions in the queue, because you have not been popping them up left and right. There have only been a few. We haven't got a ton of questions tonight.
Kind of a quiet crowd tonight. I don't know what
wow.
But I do have a couple. I have a couple notes, a couple questions.
All right, well, you throw them in. But in the meantime, everybody, if you got any questions, now's the time to pop one in there. We will get them answered. M.R. Johnson, don't forget Chesapeake China snakeheads like hot weather. They do. That is true. Snakehead is a great fish to go and target during the middle of the summer. They do still, like most fish, slow down a little bit midday as opposed to morning and evening when it's really super duper hot. But I'm not sure, and Zach, you're better at snakeheads than I am. You correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure it ever gets like so hot that the snakeheads won't bite, does it?
I was over Blackwater a few years back, and water was pushing 100 degrees because it's like 4.
Oh my God!
It's like 3-4 feet, So it was like midsummer, and they were not biting. They were not biting at all.
Wow!
So I think there is a threshold even for those guys.
I didn't know it got that hot over there.
I'll say there's snakeheads everywhere around the Annapolis area, and they just do not behave. Like, I've caught snakeheads in, I think, 4 counties in Maryland, and I have yet to catch one in Anne Arundel County, but I've spotted them every time out, and I just cannot figure out what they want.
Well, I went for them not last Monday, but the Monday before, I think it was, and we couldn't get a bite.
Where'd you go?
The Chick.
Okay.
We caught some perch. We caught a little rockfish. What else did we get? We got some other little fish, but the snakeheads absolutely would not bite. And we thought that they may have been in spawning mode, and just not biting. But what's interesting is, Dave was with us. He put up his drone and flew it around, parked it over a bunch of fish. He found a spot where there were like 5 or 6, and we cast and cast and cast right where the fish were. They just would not eat. And what's really fascinating is when we got home at the end of the day, he watched back some of the footage, and we cast in front of 30, 40 fish, like right on top of them. And he had the drone shots, the fish is sitting there. We make a throw. It landed 5 feet from the fish. They just would not eat. So those snakeheads, man, they're crazy critters.
Yeah, I had same spot. I hit this was about a month ago, and had a little guy come inspect the frog, a couple nips, and then the bigger, I assume the female, I think they were paired up this morning, kind of came up and just stared at it for like a minute. I pulled out my phone, I snapped a photo, and then it just swam up. I went back a few days later with some minnows on a Tin Man floating jig, threw that out there, and it came up and just started pecking at the minnow. It wouldn't eat it. And I'm like, if it didn't eat that, it's just not going to bite. And then my buddy Ridgely went out, and he caught it the next day. So, it's just, who knows? But what I want to say is, you posted that picture of Adam with the smallie. And I hit a Calvert County pond on Monday. Thank you, Dr. Fish, for allowing use of your private pond. And he said, you got to be there at sunrise. So we got up at 5 and hit the water, right before 6. And we had a solid bite for 2 hours. I think I landed like 6 bass. Probably lost another 6 bites. And then as soon as the sun came over the tree line, it shut down. But also, Adam has been night fishing for reds down in the Honga area, I believe, throwing out soft crab from shore. I don't know.
And he's been catching.
Yeah. Talked to him. He was prepping. I popped into Anglers, and he was prepping. He's like, "Oh, I'm going down." And I'm like, "Oh man, you're crazy." and then like 3 hours later, he posted a picture. I was like, that is awesome. And then he went back again a few days later. I think they hooked up too. And your boys were down in that region. And Max got his first bull.
He did. That was a few weeks ago. Dave went with Adam, I don't know, a week, 10 days ago, whatever, after the super heat moved in. and the big reds had moved out of the shallows, or appeared to have moved out of the shallows. They didn't get them that night. But this heat blast, I mean, we had that up and down temperature swing for a while,
Yeah.
and the water really didn't warm up dramatically, but then it shot up like a rocket ship. And I knew I went out 2 days apart, and it had gone up 7 degrees in 2 days.
Man. Well, Big Vince is saying all fish, no bluefish. I'm thinking maybe he actually sent us a nice report catching some nice big blues. Look like tailors, down near, kind of Middle Bay region.
Target ship zone?
I think about around there. But Tom Weaver was catching them north of Poplar. My buddy was getting some tail. He wasn't throwing Z-Man. He was getting tails bit off right out here near the Severn. So
there has been a real nice bite on bluefish in the target ship zone, where a lot of guys were pulling hoses for cobia, hoping to get a cobia, which really hasn't been incredibly hot right around there recently. But they were catching nice bluefish. And we had a reader send us in a report. Oh gosh, I don't know what, not long ago, within days, not weeks, and he got like 8 or 10 up in well into the 20s. Good fish. The ones that were up north, I honestly don't know what happened to them, because they were in the Stone Rock zone, they were in the Poplar zone, and for like the last week, I have not been hearing about them. They're somewhere. They went somewhere, but I don't know where.
Well,
you know where?
They showed up a little early this year, because we caught a bunch in May down in Tangier and Power Plant, which is kind of early, right? I mean,
there were some nice ones at the power plant. It's funny. It seems early to us these days, because in the last 15, 20 years it is. But I remember before the rockfish came back, when I was a kid, there'd be a late April run of bluefish. We used to call them the tide runners, and they had big giant heads and long skinny bodies. You could tell it was like the end of winter, and they run all the way up. Heck, you get them at Love Point. Not big numbers, but they would pop up. And so, and that was April. But the bluefish really changed their patterns in the Chesapeake when the rockfish bounced back. And in recent years, I would agree with you. It for them to show up in May does seem early now.
Switching gears, where the heck are the white perch?
Nobody knows.
But I mean, we both fished. We fished the run, both of us, and we both did pretty well earlier this year.
Actually, that's true. The run was not awful.
So where did they go? Because I mean, I moved into my creek 5 years ago, and before I got a boat and I didn't feel like dealing with a kayak, I'd go down to the community pier and catch half a dozen little perch, not eaters, but just something fun, a little evening fun fishing, and there's just nothing there.
Well, it's the same in Ramsey. As long as I have lived here, which is over 20 years, anytime you could reliably go out on a Ramsey and fish, I don't know, any one of a half a dozen spots, and you'd have trouble not catching perch. There were a lot of perch, 6, 8, 10, 12 in a quick little, evening shot. And I think I've caught 2 so far this year in total out of there.
Yeah. Well, I took some minnows along while I was snakehead fishing, and I got like an 11-inch perch, nice big perch. But then I went out.
That's the weird thing. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of guys have been complaining about the lack of perch. But when they find them, they're like these 12-inch perch. Have you been? It's been happening. And yes, and Joey, the Patuxent has been a highlight. That's been an exception. The Patuxent and the Susquehanna, all the way up north, they're getting them too. It really seems to be like the Magathie down to the west, where they're just like MIA for some reason.
I mean, my whole life, it was just sure thing. You can go white perch fishing all summer long.
But the ones that are popping up are really big. I don't know why. It's very strange.
I hate to speculate, but snakeheads.
I don't know. I tell you, I do have hope that we had a good spawn this year for them, and oh my gosh, hope among hopes, maybe even a good one for rockfish, because my neighbor who lives on the on the water on the south and always keeps his minnow trap in 24/7. He has been getting some little baby white perch in the trap, which hasn't been happening the last few years.
Well, that's good. Everything's cyclical, so maybe it's just a little thing. But I don't know if you recall, last year we were over on the Chick. We ran into a charter captain who was commercial fishing for white.
Yes.
He was commercial fishing for snakeheads, and when you asked him what bait he was using, he was fishing chunks of white perch for snakehead. I don't know. Kind of adds to my theory a little bit, or hypothesis.
Well, in the blue cats, how many times have we cut open blue cats and found white perch inside? So Mike's saying he was hitting white perch at the reef balls in the magazine. Oh, hook and lining, menhaden, and keeper size croaker too. Interesting. That's awesome. You're getting some keeper croakers there. That's where the keepers are. That's also really interesting. You're getting white perch at the reef balls because I have a couple friends who fish the Magathie, who live on the Magathie, fish it regularly, and they've been complaining about the lack of white perch. But you know what? They're all, shallow water, cast to the piers, cast to in the creeks kind of guys. I doubt they've tried the reef balls, so that is fascinating. I wonder if they've shifted just to deeper water for whatever reason.
Be interesting to see the results of the Anglers White Perch Open, which is coming up. You guys should check that out. Pretty modest entry, great party at Hickory Point. And Mike Ebersberger fries the best white perch. Sorry, Dad, but something about it, something special.
You're actually not the first person I've heard say that.
Oh, he gave me his recipe. He used like Zatarain's and mixes a bunch of other stuff. I used to use the Louisiana stuff, the Louisiana fish fry. But I got to say what's up to Mike. Mike was my boss at Guitar Center like years ago. I worked there. He's a bass player. Mike, me and you got to get out and go fishing. Randy says fishing has been slow around Chrisfield. That's a bummer.
Randy, I don't know if you've looked at the temp gauge, but I'm guessing it's gotten super, super hot down there, right? I mean, I just got to guess. I wish I'd been down there. I have not been down there in a while. We had a great time when we were down there, but like you said, that was early on. The bluefish, the rockfish.
Yeah.
What?
I'm not sure what he's agreeing to, but
keeper size croaker coming through. Yeah. That's awesome. That's really nice to see. I mean, how many years has it been?
I feel like I was a teenager when my dad used to take me down the Patuxent hardhead fishing, they call it. And my uncle take me down hardhead fishing.
Yes. They were so thick that you'd go jigging for rockfish and catch them on your jigs.
Why do they call them hardheads?
Because they got hard heads. Dude, you ever whack one on the head? They're hard.
No.
They're hard. They are hard heads.
So I've harvested a few rockfish. I try to limit, like one a month or something. But I have been doing the Ikejime, and Jesse from CCA encouraged me to do the circuit breaker.
Yep.
And I've been doing the circuit breaker. And you know what? It takes 30 seconds. I thought it'd be a huge hassle, and I think it makes a big difference.
I'm 1,000% on board with the brain spiking and the bleeding, and it absolutely makes for a much nicer fillet. No question about it. I got to admit, the circuit breaker, I have not managed to get myself there yet, but maybe I need to do that.
I mean, when you get it right, you see the tail sort of, you see it kind of like, you see the terminating of the electrical impulses from the nervous system. It's visibly. Yeah. Sorry. Randy says 85 degrees down in Chrisfield.
Oh yeah, we are in the midsummer stupid hot phase. But I'll tell you what, Randy, if you can find, I'm sure you can find, just locate one of those pieces of hard structure. There's some wrecks. There's some other stuff down there in the Tangier that's in 10, 12 feet of water. That's going to be where those fish are shifting to once the sun's in the sky. Dylan and David were down there. Was it last summer? Might have been last summer. Might have been the summer before. And they happened upon one of those wrecks, and they weren't even targeting specks, and they just started one after the next, and had a fantastic time with it. I would bet money that's where those fish are going to be. They're going to be on those slightly deeper chunks of structure, or in those slightly deeper holes. That hole on the north side of Bloodsworth, there's a name for the point it's off, but I cannot remember it offhand. But if you can find that hole, that they flock in there when it gets really super hot out. I've had days where you can park the boat there, spot lock it or anchor it right in front of that hole, and just one cast after the next right in there.
Evan agrees that Mike is the white perch fry master. And Mike,
we got a consensus.
Mike chimed in again saying he's been yakking at the Bay Bridge ponds. It's kind of hit and miss, becomes a huge spot.
Interesting. Huge spot. Wow.
Walt's doing the Ikejime. It's pretty easy. I do like 2 or 3 holes with the spike. That way I give them all a try. And then I know I got the brain for sure.
All right. So now I'm going to be looking for Walt to do some kind of mathematical technical comparison on fillet density, cleanliness, and tastiness with circuit breaker versus non-circuit breaker. Well, I know you can do it. Come on, there's an algorithm for this, right?
I want Walt to get a fish EKG and then like determine the exact moment of termination with the Ikejime and see if there's still EKG going on with before the circuit breaker. Or
so for those who don't realize it, this is Max Speed Walt. Walt Tomkowski is Max Speed Walt, who figured out the mathematical computation that will tell you the exact perfect speed to troll for mackerel on any given day. And it works. And it works. And that's not his only. that's not the only. I guess it's not a mathematical accomplishment, right? What would you call that? Formulaic? I don't know, because my brain doesn't do numbers. But man, Walt's does. And that's
right there with E = MC squared. That's all I know. Right. Well, I think that's a wrap, Lenny. We are 7:03.
Oh, man. All right. Well.
Oh, one more comment. Oh, it's Walt. And soft plastics.
Divided by 2. Okay.
Walt's article on fishtalkmag.com. And before we close, just want to remind you that the fishing reports will be live tomorrow by noon, usually much earlier than that, but we will do a push and let you know that they're updated. Always by noon on Friday. Dylan does a fantastic job scouring the bay for reports, and we can always use more. So if you're interested in contributing to our fishing reports, we won't burn your spots. It can be a generalized ballpark region, but we'd love to know what you're catching, where you're catching, methods you're using, time of day, water temps, currents, all that kind of information is super relevant. You can send those anytime to Lenny@fishtalkmag.com. And if you've got old photos of kids or just a picture you really loved, we also have our reader photo section of the magazine, and you can send those in anytime as well. So current photos, current reports, old photos, reader photos.
Well, Zach, thank you so much. And people, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. And look for the next edition of Fish Talk to come out in just a couple of weeks. We are getting to work on it now.
Yes, we are. Thanks for the reminder. I'm going to enjoy a nice long weekend and dive right into it.
Happy 4th. Happy 4th, people.
Happy 4th, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for checking out. Whoa, wrong side. I like this. Okay,